Hey everyone, it is your girl Vanessa, and today we're going to end Spicy April for my birthday with probably the spiciest take. So for those of you that are just picking up now or missed a couple of episodes, we talked about Doge and efficiency and the fact that I think that that is going to be a trend that a lot of organizations and states and all that is going to go towards. We talked about performance design versus instructional design. And we talked last about vendors who say they use the Kirkpatrick model and are selling you that dream and not delivering on that vacation you thought that you bought, but instead, you're landing somewhere else that you did not expect to be. And so today, the spiciest one of them all. And it's not training, it's you. You're the problem. And I say this lovingly, and I say this about the organization. So often, training is blamed as the problem when in fact, the training was never set up to be successful. It was literally set up to fail because there was no hard look at the performance environment. So let's talk about what I mean by performance environment. So the performance environment is where the actual learned behaviors are going to be performed. And some of the things that you're going to want to better understand and that affect the performance environment are things like ability to apply what is learned, having resources and access to resources to help you refresh and pick up reminders of where what you learned, manager support, peer support, executive support, psychological safety, motivation, culture. These all impact whether or not your training is going to be successful. Training it happens and performance happens in super noisy environments. And, it's like this thing that I said to someone recently that it's like, when you deliver something to a customer and it doesn't work, they never look at themselves. They always look at the person that delivered it as a reason it didn't work. But like when you actually look at how it was implemented, well, like you implemented it wrong. So of course it's not going to work. It's the same thing. This is probably the most difficult piece of the whole Kirkpatrick model and our process. And it's this working with stakeholders, understanding more about the performance environment and being able to have this conversation with them that like, y'all, it's not a training issue. It's a you problem or it's a us problem, like us as in the organization. And we may not feel qualified to be able to have that conversation. And we've got to stop looking at training as the problem. Now, here is where I think that training does get the blame. When we don't take ownership of what it is that we deliver and say, with instructions, here are the instructions in order to deliver this properly. This is how it should be taken. This is like how many times a day. This is, what the environment should look like. Then yeah, of course it's not gonna work. Right? You didn't do the prep to ensure the intervention that you're including is actually going to work. And so if we don't do that piece, there is also blame on us. But if we do that piece and we're still told, hey, I don't really care, we need the training, then you deliver. I do it all the time. I tell customers, this is not going to work. This is not the right solution. I don't recommend this. You do not get my seal of approval that this is going to solve your problem, like your big level 4 problem. I don't care. We want it anyway. All right. The system that you are putting those performance behaviors and you're putting your people into is so important. And the reason training does not stick is because of those systems. If you missed the episode that I did, it was in January, it came out with Dr. Amy Heaton, we talked about how does training stick, and it's through the systems design. Your system has to be right. It goes back to the environment, right? Like if the environment is not right, training doesn't matter. Training's not going to help you. So when we think about our consulting pieces, are those conversations that we have with stakeholders, what you actually need to uncover is what needs to be part of the performance environment in order for proper execution of those behaviors that will then lead to what you need to have happen in your leading indicators, increase, decrease, whatever, and your true organization, true organizational outcome, right? You're all the way up to your level 4. They need to be able to define that performance environment. What does perfect look like? Dream state. And then you need to measure what do we got today? Are managers going to be supportive? Do people have psychological safety? So earlier in the week or last week, I had a conversation with someone who told me that they spent a lot of money on an executive leadership program, and like they did like a whole radical candor thing. It was great. Everyone vibed there, but then they went out back into work and none of it was transferred to work. She's like, we spent a lot of money on a really fun experience that resulted in zero impact on our organization. And I said, all right, well, it was like a 30, 60-minute conversation. So like a lot to unpack. And I'm like, I just want to let you know, in my mind, what's starting to ring off in my head is, okay, and is the organization culture set up, and is there psychological safety in the organization so that folks can have these radical candor conversations without fear of retribution? So we set up employees to have these expectations put on them. And yet we don't give them the environment to have it be executed and thrive, or feel safe that they could do it. There's not going to be any retribution. Leadership development, that's another big one where this all happens. So we teach like this innovative leadership training thing, right? Cool. And we are not an organization that values failure and failing fast. So innovation comes with failure. Innovation comes with throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks. It's messy. It's not totally streamlined. There's a lot of complexities to innovation that you have to have an appetite for. And some organizations just don't. They want tried and true. They want what's always been done. So you're teaching folks to be innovative in an environment where innovation is not actually valued? What do you think the chances are that they're going to transfer that learning to behavior? Probably not great. Another area of leadership development gets this wrong is in ability to apply. So we put folks through these leadership development programs, but there is no leadership opportunities for them. We feel like, oh, well, they should just they should just become leaders in their own team. Like, just make up their own leadership stuff. Like, okay. Yeah, there's certain, like, that's kind of what emerging leaders programs are for, right? Like those more leadership qualities that you can exhibit when part of a team to almost tee yourself up to be part of that leadership pipeline. But like these full-fledged leadership development programs don't really make sense if there is no opportunity for someone to go and then be a leader. When we think about, I love software training. I'm like a special place in my heart. We think about what we need for the performance environment. Do you want to know the number one thing you need? Additional resources. I can promise you none of my trainees remember what I said. Like, they might remember some things that I say because like I'm a pretty fun facilitator, but like they don't remember every single way to do all of these different things that I'm teaching them. But they love the job aids and the quick reference cards, even like the old school ones for all my people. My early pharma folks that had their little quick reference card in their laptop bag with the that were laminated with the ring, and you just stuck them on there. And every time we had to like do an update, we had to ship out new ones, and they had to take their old one out and put the new one on. No, anybody else? Just me? Okay, got it. That's what they need. If we don't provide those additional resources to help support them on the job, or those like checklists, let's like call them, right? Yeah, like the performance environment isn't great. Of course, training is going to fail. You need the required driver's package to support. You need the performance, understand better the performance environment. You need to understand if the person's even motivated to do this. Again, like if we think back to the radical candor conversation, right? Like, yeah, they're motivated in the moment because like, this is the thing. I love an in-person experience. Like I love a summit, like Kirkpatrick Summit. Like these are things I love to build because I love the high of everyone collaborating and working together. Like it is awesome. And it gives me like all the dopamine feels. Like I love it. I love being able to pull this stuff together. And you may have that motivation like in the moment because like everyone I'm with has that same motivation. But do I have that same motivation when I go back to work and like, I'm with, Grumpy Gail or Grumpy Greg, who kind of brings down my energy and like kind of is like an energy vampire. And if you've ever heard of that phrase, am I motivated them? And then there's trainings that we take that we get assigned and we're like, okay, I'll participate. I'm like the butt in the chair because I have to be here, but I'm not really motivated to change anything about what I do. I'm good. I don't need to learn a new way. The way that I'm doing things is totally fine. Or I don't believe in this new like way. I don't think that it's going to work out. So, I'm just going to sit here and listen. They're not motivated. And you have to understand more about your learners, right? Like the people that are coming, your participants, the people that are supposed to perform these behaviors, are they actually motivated to do it? If they're not, then you need to go back and address why are they not motivated? And work there first before executing then on the training. Doesn't mean that training never comes. And sometimes you just fix something in the performance environment that actually fixes the reason for the training. But then other times you just need to go and you then go do the training. But we've got to stop blaming training. And we've got to take ownership that we are not showing up as consultants. And it is hard. It takes practice. There is all of this politics in play when it comes to who's making the request and the sort of, do we feel like we have the ability to push back on a request? If we want to get all meta on this one, is the performance environment for your learning and development department such that you have the psychological safety, you've got the ability to apply consulting skills? If the answer is no, then that's where you actually have to focus on. Like, the person can learn new skills, but if they don't feel like they can actually execute them without retribution, that consulting training is just going to fail. And I'm really tired of selling things to people and not having that sort of like awareness. Like, you've got to focus on the system. There is never going to be a magic bullet that saves everything. Never. We hold out for this hope in all areas, like not just L&D. Like, L&D is so not the only one that deals with this, but like we hold out this hope for all this like radical change to happen, right? Like, this one thing is going to come and save us. Like, AI is going to come and save us. No, it's not. It's going to help in certain areas, not help in others. And remember, we have a toolbox. My husband is a plumber. He does not only have a snake. He has hammers and I don't know, like a whole bunch of stuff. So many things he has to fix plumbing problems that it takes up a 3-car garage. Okay. That's how many tools he has. Recognizing that he is a little bit of a like over-prepared person at having tools. But it is a lesson there, right? Like, he has multiple tools because there are multifaceted problems. And there's problems that you can solve with multiple tools, and it just depends on which is the right one or what you have the nearest. Like, there's also that whole aspect of it, but you need to have multiple. There's not just one thing. Look at training as that piece, right? Like, training is not going to be the one thing that fixes things. And if we get like down in the like deeper, right? Like, e-learning is not going to fix everything. Gamification, AI is not going to fix everything. It's going to fix some things and uncover other problems. There's no one tool and one solution. Problems are multifaceted, and a lot of them require multiple solutions in order to actually fix the problem. Like, look, my daughter is sick right now. I took her to the doctor this morning. She did not just prescribe one thing. She prescribed an oral medication. She provided me with saline for her nebulizer. I also have albuterol for her nebulizer. I've got, she prescribed rest. She prescribed lots of fluids, Motrin for her fever. Because her problem is multifaceted. It takes a lot of things to be able to actually fix the true problem. Not just one. She can't just take the saline or take the cough medicine and like that's going to solve everything. Training is the same way. Problems that training is looking to solve, it is multifaceted. And training is not going to fix a shitty, toxic culture. It's not. You've got to do the deep work. You've got to look on the inside. You've got to look at your hiring practices. You've got to look at your promotional practices. You've got to look at the culture, like the work sort of culture. See if there's toxicity there, like how folks interact with each other with their work and, expectations of like staying late, coming in early, like all these things, right? Got to do that deep work of looking in. It's not easy. No one loves to do it. We love to say, you know what? I'm going to sweep that under the rug because that's a bigger problem to solve for. Training feels a lot smaller. But at the end of the day, training's not going to fix your organizational problems. You need more help. And we need to start looking at organizations with this holistic mindset. And you have to be able to evaluate the entire organization using the same language and with the same goal so that continuous improvement, actual improvement can happen. If we're all doing things differently, if we're all evaluating differently, if we're all on different tracks and we're all going separate ways, it's going to be really hard to come together and move forward. The organizations that have the best cultures have leaders who believe in the mission and really embed the mission and the vision and the identity of the organization throughout the organization. They invest in their people and value them wholeheartedly, and they take the time to look deep within them to fix problems in order to help provide the right solution and the best organization for their employees and their customers. So I'd love to hear from you, friends. Tell me more about, what you think about this concept of a performance environment and doing the measurement of it. What do you think is missing from a performance environment that I might not have covered? And I will catch y'all on the next episode. Bye.